So here we are back again. I promised you guys that we wouldn't just leave it at one episode. So I'd like to introduce you guys to my friend Joe. Joe and I go back, Jesus, how long now, Joe?
Probably pre-COVID.
Oh, it is pre-COVID. And Joe and I met playing golf at our golf club down the street. Um, And I've asked Joe to come over because Joe's got a lot of good opinions about a lot of things. And well, we like to share some golf stories. So I think it'll be a pretty good opportunity to just sit here and talk shit for a little bit. So, hey, why don't you tell everybody that's going to see you a little bit about you, and then we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts of it.
Oh my God, Ronnie. We know each other from the golf course, and of course, when the people that play golf, they know that you get some really good friendships on the golf course and the club. Met Ronnie. Never met Ronnie before. Played around the golf with him. We hit it off. We've been good friends ever since. And that's one thing about golf. I mean, golf is a good activity where you meet a lot of good people, develop some good relationships.
Uh, what's funny, I'm laughing is that we met on a golf course, and it wasn't we didn't hit it off because I'm a good golfer. We hit it off because I just had a conversation this weekend where they're like, "Yeah, Ronnie, you're not the best golfer, but you're one of the best guys in the room." So, like we're able to have fun and have a good time, and nobody takes anything too serious.
Well, let me back up. I think we hit it off because we're both fairly competent. A lot of golfers, we have our moments. Back then, we had our moments more often, more so than now.
That's fair. And none of like you and I, neither one of us takes it very seriously. I mean, we've both come close to club throwing tantrums, but I don't think either one of us has ever thrown a club in anger. Uh,
We're not getting paid to play.
Fuck, we're not getting paid to do this.
In fact, some of the people we play against will tell you that we're paying them to play.
This is evidenced how I played last weekend. That's a different story. Uh, but by the way, Joe also is lucky enough that we go out to dinner as friends just outside of the golf course, and we share a mutual love for having a bourbon from time to time. And tonight we're having a little old fashioned from Penelope. Uh, Not that we're looking for any plugs or anything, but you never know what's going to happen. So I asked Joe to come on because Joe has some interesting takes on a whole bunch of different topics. First of all, he's a Eagles fan and a Flyers and a Phillies and
That's
76ers, the other Philadelphia team.
what sport is that?
Uh, but he also has takes on like the current events and the stuff that's going on. So I think we're just going to kind of weave in and out of conversation for a little bit on this one and see where it takes us. But we will start with the Eagles. So I'm going to start with a little story, and this is where the insensitivity of who I am comes out. So um, right before Tiger and I got married, the weekend before, me, Joe, and some other friends wind up at a baseball game at Citizens Bank. We were watching the Phillies, and I think it was Washington Nationals. And it's early September. Football season's getting ready to fucking jump into full swing. And if you've never been surrounded by Eagles or Philadelphia fans in general, they're very assertive. And the Phillies are beating the brakes off the Nationals, and they start breaking out with the EAGLES, 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 Eagles chant. And I'm like, oh, Christ. Now, I'm pretty shithoused at this point. I know that's surprising to no one.
Well, you had an excuse because it was your unofficial bachelor.
That's 100% correct. I stood up 5 rows off the right field line at Citizens Bank, turned around and faced the crowd and yelled out, FAGS, Eagles. And Joe's laughing because it's not untrue. And people were looking at me like I had a couch growing out of the side of my head. So a couple rows back is a bunch of dudes, and they're like, "Hey, man, you better be careful. You might get your ass kicked." They were like, "We're cops. Oh, we might kick your ass too." I said, "What if I bought you a drink?" They're like, "We'll make sure you get home safe." So I bought them around the drinks and started yelling "FAGS Eagles" the whole rest of the night. Um, so that's some of the shit that I got myself into with Joe. But we'll talk a little bit of the Eagles. What did you think of Monday night's game?
Tell you what, they seem to play well enough to win.
They
They play well enough to win.
like
And you know Jalen Hurts isn't putting up the big stats, but you know he finds a way to win, and that's all you want. Well, that's all you want your team to do is win, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many touchdowns this guy got or how many yards this guy got, or you know. And I'm a big fantasy football guy, Ronnie. And I, you know, I'm on red zone. I want to see what my guys do. But you know what? My if my team wins, it's just like when you play golf. You hit three ground balls, make a putt, have four in your card, and it's a par. Nobody sees how you got that four.
there's no pictures on the scoreboard, right?
Right.
And we have that conversation a lot when it comes to whether it's golf or sports in general, right? I mean, I'm a baseball guy. I'm born and bred, and you could go, you know, 4 for 4 with four singles, and if your team wins, it doesn't make a difference because there's no pictures there. I will say that as a Giant fan, it's been um, kind of a disheartening year because we had a little bit of optimism going in with Russell Wilson. Like, hey, maybe he's going to be a stabilizing force after the Daniel Jones and all of the shitty quarterbacks that we've had. Um, so maybe he'll come in and let Jackson Dart grow a little bit as a quarterback. And we got this Cam Scatterbo kid that came out of Arizona State at like just tough as nails. And then Russell Wilson flopped, and the Giants were like, "Oh fuck it, we're just going to start Jackson Dart and see what happens." And 3 games into that experiment, Cam Scatterbo's ankle takes a left, and now Jackson Dart's out for at least 2 weeks with concussion protocol, where the Giants looked like they were seeming to turn a corner. So it's been a little bit disheartening as a Giant fan.
What my take on the Giants?
It's institutional.
I was going to say that the move they made with the coach, they should have made before the season. They should have, and it's not just the coach. The GM's got to go, and I think you've got to get somebody in there that's going to be able to work or bring in the staff that works with the quarterback. Because if you throw that quarterback in right now with the wrong people, you're going to have another
Daniel Jones
Daniel
situation.
Jones situation.
But look at what he's doing now that he's in Indianapolis, right? Last year he spent with Minnesota and did some things, and he was like, "Oh, this is how a good organization is run." And now he's in Indianapolis. They got the shit kicked out of them last weekend, but they have one of the best records in the league, and he's become, I don't want to say Tom Brady like, but he's managing a game like Tom Brady would. So it's a disheartening position from a New York Giants fan because you think that the organization is doing what's right, and at every turn it's wrong. So I don't know who they bring in. I heard John Gruden's name mentioned yesterday to come in, and quite honestly, I don't know that there's a bad answer. I mean, we had Joe Judge, we had Brian Daboll. There was one in between that just wasn't any good. So I don't know what the coaching situation is, but but I'll tell you that right now they're playing for a top 10 draft pick again.
You know, Ronnie, you still have to do something with the GM. When that GM let Saquon Barkley sign with a rival, that
I,
was that was the nail in the coffin.
I don't disagree. I mean, Saquon's not putting up the numbers that he did last year, but he also is not playing with the same offensive line. Um, and I think he's been banged up a little bit more this year than he was last year. I think the Eagles as a team are not as dominant as they were last year, but I think they walk with a little bit extra swagger now. You don't have to be as good, but if you let people know that, we're better than you, then do you really need to be that good?
Let's go back to the GM situation again.
Okay.
Who's the most important person in the Eagles organization right now?
I mean, I'd say Howie Roseman
Exactly.
because he's built the perfect teams.
Exactly.
It's not Nick Sirianni because Doug Peterson went to a Super Bowl win. It's not Jalen Hurts because, well, didn't Jalen miss a couple of games last year?
He did, but they were in. They were in.
It's not Saquon Barkley because who's the other running back that you guys have? Gainwell? Oh no,
That was last
that was
year.
last year.
Now they have Tank Bisbee,
Bisbee.
who supplanted Dylan, which I thought Dylan was going to be a pretty good number two back, and he's pretty much gone.
And oh, by the way, you have three of the premier football catchers on the planet: Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, and Dallas Goddard. I mean, I think I could probably play quarterback for the Eagles and go 12 for 12 with 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not well, but there's no pictures on the scorecard.
It wouldn't be pretty, but it'd be effective.
No, I
But
don't
that's
I
all
don't
you need. That's all you have. You have a good line. You surround yourself with good players and talent.
I don't disagree. And the Giants and the Jets, and I'm going to pick on the Jets because they're playing tonight, are both hapless organizations when it comes to front office decisions. Uh, the Jets had two top 10 quarterback picks in 5 years, and they picked Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson, and neither one of them is worth a pound of wet fucking paper. So I think you're right with Howie. Howie's an incredibly important part, but they were ready to throw him under the bus 3 years ago. So, the finicky Philadelphia fan. And if they lose next year, guess what? Oh shit. Right. All right. Now I'm gonna switch subjects in sports. We'll stay on sports for a few minutes. I am wearing a New York Rangers pullover. How atrocious have they been?
All I know is what I see on video, and all I've seen is they haven't been able to score. I don't know anything else other than the Rangers. Well, obviously, I'm a Philadelphia fan. I was at the Flyers game last night.
Would
Uh,
you go with the boys?
no, Lynn and I went.
Oh, good.
I
Did they
think
win?
uh, they lost in overtime against the Oilers, which we have similar records right now. I think the Oilers are a much talented team, and Lynn will tell you that. How come these guys can make passes our guys can't make? I said, well, they said she doesn't understand that the gaps that are there, the gaps that aren't there, and the time and space that's there or not
Sure.
there. So there's a lot of things that go in to be able to execute plays and getting out of your zone and getting up the ice. But they're competitive. Flyers are competitive. They're not going to outskill anybody, but competitive. They have a basic system.
Well, if you remember the old days, and I'm going to go back to my teens and 20s when it was the Bruising Patrick division, and it was the Flyers, the Rangers, the Islanders, and the Montreal Canadiens that played in the Patrick division. The Canadians might have been in the Norris. I'm going to blank on the fourth team that was in the Patrick division. It was the Bruising Patrick division. It was not the pretty hockey that you get out in the West, what Wayne Gretzky and Luc Robitaille with the LA Kings. It was, we're going to shove this puck down your throat and we're going to score the dirty goal in the front of the net. And that's how the division was played. And I still don't think we've kicked that stigma that it's bruising, 200-foot hockey, and we're going to make you pay for every foot on that 200 foot. The problem with the Rangers and probably uh, even with the Flyers is we sacrifice some of the speed and skill for the physicality, and sometimes the speed and skill eats physicality.
So you have to have a good mix because what I find, I use the Flyers as an example. I think they have decent speed, but they don't have a lot of size. So what happens is when you're against the boards or if there's ever like a physical one-on-one battle, and I'm not so much like talking about a wrestling match or a fight, but just being able to outman the puck sometimes and create space and maintain space. I was real big when I played on being able to get the puck out of the zone, but you have to have some size and strength to be able to win those battles. And the Flyers don't have it. But they do have speed. It's not the game over the 20 years. It is so fast.
Oh, it's absurd.
Like, there's no time and space. I mean, when you 5-on-5, it's very difficult. And not go down to college level, I'll go down to major junior level. The teams that are getting to play, there's no time or space. I mean, they have scheduled plans. You literally take away time and space, and there's no room to do anything.
Well, and I equate hockey and football kind of the same when it comes to like the athleticism of the athletes on both fields or rink and field respectively have gotten better. Like they're faster, they're stronger, they move with more agility, and it's the professional athlete. But the rink hasn't changed size. It's the same size as when Gordie Howe was playing, and you could get a Gordie Howe hat trick, right? What was it? A goal, a fist fight,
And an
and an
assist.
assist,
Yep.
right? And Gordie Howe probably, in his grave, probably looks at these guys and goes, "Holy shit! I don't even think I was as athletic or as agile as these guys are." And it's the same with football. Like if Ronnie Lott were to play today, first of all, he probably couldn't. He'd be suspended second play of the game because he hurt somebody. But these guys are faster than they were back then because it's the professional athlete that is just this thing that keeps growing and growing and growing, and we haven't changed anything on the field. And I don't think either one of those games does anything with the size of the playing field until somebody gets seriously injured or dies on the field.
You could even go as far as golf. Look at golf.
Oh,
The way they hit a ball.
all right.
They're trying to shorten the courses or make the courses longer
Well,
and
now it's
shorten the
bifurcate the
games and
ball, right? So, and we'll go back to golf, and then I'll switch subjects out of sports. For all of you not sports folks, we'll talk about some current events things. But Tiger Woods is a big fan of bifurcating the golf ball so that the tour pros play a ball that taps out at a certain distance that it could fly in the air, and everybody else, you and I, can play whatever ball we want, and they're not going to put any distance restrictions on it because, well, we don't hit the ball 335 yards in the air like Bryson DeChambeau. Um, then you have some other tour pros, and I can't name them specific, but I think that there was a Justin Thomas mention in there that said maybe we shouldn't bifurcate because golf is the one game where you can go buy and play the exact same equipment that we professionals do on the same courses that we professionals do. And if you're a Sunday beer league softball player, you're not getting a Louisville Slugger made for Frank Thomas and playing at Comiskey Field. That just doesn't work that way. But if you're an average Sunday hacker, with exception of few like Pine Valley and Augusta National, you can go spend the money and play Pebble Beach with the same equipment that Tiger Woods plays with. So there's the duality of that argument. I don't know where I fall on it, other than the fact that the hardest thing that I've done in sports, and I played baseball, I played football, I played ice hockey. Ice hockey was the most fun I had playing sports, but the hardest thing I've done in sports is repeat the golf swing the correct way over and over again. Fucking, it's stationary. I should be able to hit it, right? No,
you would think.
I suck at it.
So let's talk about what's happening with the pro game. And you take a look at these guys now compared to 30 years ago. It's not just the equipment, it's how they train. You have a training trailer at all the major tournaments, actually all the tournaments. And these guys are showing up not just 45 minutes to hit balls, they're showing up 2 hours before to work out in the training trailer.
And they go get brand new wedges every 15 minutes.
They've got coaches. They have even some of the not weekend, I'm gonna say the avid amateur players that are nobodies are so into the intricate parts of the swing to try to get more swing speed. It's just everybody has put more time and effort into being able to play the game better. That it's resulted in these these players playing like they play today. We have high school kids that are scratch that weigh all of 130 pounds, 140 pounds, are like a 10th, 11th graders.
So golf is one of those things, right? Like the world has opened up post 1997 with the game of golf. And I'm going to put it all on Tiger Woods. He opened up this like waterfall of people who were interested in the game that they always thought was stuffy and unfun to play. And this dude changed the whole entire. Nobody has moved the needle more in anyone's sport, in my opinion, than Tiger Woods did in golf. Before Tiger Woods came on the professional scene in 1996, if you won at any tournament, the most expensive tournament that paid back then was the Players Championship, and I think they won $300,000. $300,000. Do you know what the winner of the U.S. Open won last year? 3 million.
I was going to say,
$3 million, and that's just the Tiger Woods effect. And bullshit on inflation and all of that stuff. He grew the game so big. And then, oh, by the way, I'm going to throw in this pandemic thing that happened. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. It's called COVID in 2020. Exploded golf even further. Um, so our location in northeastern Philadelphia and south central Jersey, most of the private country clubs around here have a waiting list. Once you get on the waiting list or get off the waiting list and become a member of a private club, you can't get a preferred tee time. And by preferred tee time for people like Joe and I is early in the morning where you're playing, between 8 and 10, so you don't waste your entire day. That doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't. Uh, we were just in Myrtle Beach, Tiger and we went to 3 different golf courses. One of them was TPC Myrtle, which is gorgeous. Uh, I'll tell you the story about the did I tell you the story about the rain checks?
No,
I'll tell you in a second. The waiting list at TPC Myrtle is a year, but even when you become a member, you can't get a weekend tee time. So
I believe it.
while we were down there, we were sitting at lunch on Saturday and it was rainy and shitty. I said, to Tiger, I said, hey, you want to play golf tomorrow? We didn't really have anything to do. I said, it might rain, it might not. And she goes, yeah, look where you want to go. And I said, all right, I'm going to try to play TPC Myrtle. We drove by it. It is just tremendous. Like it's a world-class facility. So I booked tee time. It's like $150 each to play. I know I'm going to go out there and lose a dozen golf balls because it's fucking water all over the place. Like it is water all over the place. And she said, "Are you sure you want to spend that money?" I said, "Yeah, fuck it. Whatever happens, happens, right?" So we get up the next morning to go play, and it is piss poor rain. And I'm telling you, Joe, it's coming down in fucking buckets. It's not even cats and dogs. It's the whole bucket that's coming down. And I said to her, I said, "Well, let's just get dressed and go, and we'll figure out what happens." So we get there, and the guy says, "Hey, you got a tea time?" I said, "Yeah, it's 8:53." And he goes, "Oh yeah." I said, "Well, what options do I have?" He goes, "Well, you got three." I said, "All right." He said, "You could wait it out." I said, "Yeah, no." He said, "You can reschedule for some time later." I said, "Well, I'm leaving Tuesday." He goes, "Okay, I'll give you a rain check that never expires and is good for any time." I said, "What do you mean anytime?" He goes, "Well, in May, we charge $450 a round." He goes, "Your $150 round you just paid for, you could come play in May." I said, "Fucking let's go.
There you
I'll
go.
take the rain check and they never expire." So what I'm thinking about is we have some friends at the club that go down there, selling them my $150 for 300.
I know
Shit.
about you. I'd go down on my own and I figure
No,
out.
we're
I'd
gonna
make
go
an
back
excuse to
down.
go down there.
We're gonna go back down. But it was one of those things that we're standing in the clubhouse when the guy was making the rain checks out. I looked at Tiger. I said, "Hey, we got some guys at the club that go down to Myrtle, and they probably want to play here." I said, "I could sell them our $150 round for 300 because they go in May, and they'd still be saving 150, but I'd make it. I'd make my money back."
So definitely the two biggest events that two biggest things that happened that exploded the game of golf was Tiger,
Absolutely.
because my son and all his friends they they fed off of that. They picked up the game because of Tiger, and everybody in that generation probably did. Even the pro golfers will tell you. The
Absolutely.
pro golfers will tell you. COVID, it was one of the few things you could do outside without getting locked up.
Yeah, and I almost got arrested on Fort Dix for playing golf during COVID. It's no lie. Me and another guy were playing golf, and we talked to the guy in the pro shop, and he said, "No, go play. Like I can't take any money from you, but go play." So we went out and played, and some jack off drove down the street and saw us walking with our push carts, and we both had umbrellas because it was hot as dick out, and called the cops. And the cops came and chased us off the golf course and said if we didn't leave, they were going to arrest us for playing golf during COVID. But that's a completely different conversation. So yeah, I think that there's really some goodness to like first of all understanding that golf is hard and that there's really been two big game changes for it. But at the end of the day, man, if you're not a golfer, and my 260 people that'll see this, if you're not a golfer, if you want to come and play, come play with us. It's fun. We have a good time. We don't drink when we play for the most part. I will drink if I'm playing really shitty, but I will certainly get a little deep after.
Absolutely.
Um, but we've got friends that we've played with. I've seen guys hit a shot, and there's a friend of mine. I won't say his name yet because I may have him as a guest. We were playing a skins game, a dollar a hole, and we were on the 16th hole at our club here down the street, and he hit an awful, awful tee shot with an iron, and he had 245, and he goes, "Ronnie, I think I'm going to hit a 5 iron." All right, it was fine. Have at it, dude. I can't hit my driver 245, but okay. He stood on this 5 iron and knocked it to like 15 feet. And Joe was pissed because Joe knocked one what he thought was closer. And he was like, this son of a bitch knocked it closer to me. And then he made the putt for like
One,
6 skins.
one and two, I'm thinking, I'm in good shape. I'll do no worse than two putt. I'm walking out here with a par and a tough hole.
Oh, he took all of our money on that hole.
That's the game.
Yeah, and then we played a couple weeks later down in Bully Rock, and Joe had us team. What the hell was it? It was Team Hamas versus Team. Who the hell did?
Your
It was
team Hamas versus
Team Israel.
I know we had
It was hysterical. We
yeah,
had a
yeah.
good time
That's what you do when you golf. You go out there and you have a good time. You
and
try to be
laughs.
competitive. You have a couple of laughs.
Well, that's it. Listen, when you watch my game, it's nothing but laughs. Uh, so I'm gonna switch for the uh, essence of time, if you will, and switch over to current events. I love to pontificate about sports until the cows come home, but we'll talk a little bit about current events. So, for those of you that don't know, the government shutdown ended yesterday. So this may not get posted for a couple of days, but it got ended yesterday, Wednesday the 12th. Um, where are you at with the whole shutdown? Do you think that based on what you know from, you're a little older than me, um, do you think there's any long-lasting effects that are going to come from this that we don't realize yet?
First of all, understand people in DC aren't in DC to solve problems. You would like to think they are, but they're not.
I'll buy that for $1.
So there's a problem. There's a problem. Everybody understands the biggest problem that the citizens have is affordability.
Yes.
And they're trying to hang, one side's trying to hang the affordability issue on the head of the other side. When reality is you're never, some things never come down. Prices don't come down. Taxes never come down. Regulations rarely come down. You just build and build on them. So if you have an expectation that things are going to become more affordable now, the Federal Reserve can lower interest rates. That would solve, some of the housing problem crisis. But if you had lower interest rates on homes, that's probably going to drive up the cost of homes because you're going to see a more active market.
So I want to jump onto the affordability of housing. So Tiger and I might have said it on the last podcast, but we went out looking, and I was telling you and your wife earlier that we were out in Myrtle, and then we went to Melbourne. And I think we have a fairly nice house here, and maybe one of these days I'll walk the camera around and show you assholes on the other end of the camera what this place looks like. But the amount of money in the housing market right now just doesn't make sense to me. So we're in Florida. They tell you that this house, 1,900 square feet, 3 bedroom, 3 bath house is $500,000. We just go with flat numbers. You're like, okay, 500 is affordable, right? I mean, in a I'm retired, I got an income coming in, kind of affordable. Not for the 25-year-old kid that just graduated college and getting their first career, affordable. But then they're pepper everything on top of that. Hey, it's $35,000 for a premium lot. And then, oh, that's with carpet in all of the places. If you want hardwood floors, that's another 17,000. And if you don't want this kitchen, you want a gourmet kitchen, that's another 12. And if you want impact resistant windows in Florida, that's another 4,000. So by the time you're done, you're staring at a $650,000 home and you're like, fuck? Like how is this who makes that much money that we're building that many houses at that level across the entire state of Florida with the interest rate of 6.2?
Now I'll take it one step further. What's the average age of somebody buying a house right now? First time home buyer.
I don't know.
It's got to be close to 40 years old.
It has to be.
We bought our first house when I was 25. Was I 25? 24, 20. Let me back up. I was 25, just turned 25. And we basically we had two incomes, but they weren't big incomes. We weren't rich by any stretch of the imagination, but and interest rates were 16%
Oh, these
back
are
then.
these are Reagan years.
Yeah. So it was coming out of Carter, going into Reagan. And you can't do that now. I mean, you have to have you know, if you're buying a first time home buyer, you have to have two professional people making good money.
Well, and then the most, so I'm lucky enough that I get a VA mortgage, so it's 0% down for the most part, right? But they want 20%. So 20% of $500,000, it's fucking $100,000.
Yep.
Who has $100,000 disposable cash? And we'll stay on the shutdown. So some of these effects are not going to be are going to go unrealized for a little bit of time, right? I don't think that the Fed, um, president will tell you that he wants them to be more aggressive. They're being more conservative because they're afraid of inflation or even hyperinflation. I'm not an economist, so I don't know where to live on that. Um, I will say that I think that when interest rates are lower, it makes money easier to get, which means it makes money easier for people to borrow. But at the same time, when you borrow too much, we have a hyper crazy thing that happened with the housing bubble in '07, '08.
Make money easier to borrow, it drives up the cost of everything.
It drives up the cost of everything, or we make it so easy that people that don't even have incomes can borrow all this money for houses, and then you have this crazy housing bubble that happens. So I don't know, but I think so. I'll go back to the shutdown really quick. Does this airport tomfoolery fix itself over the next before we get into the holiday season next week? You think?
I think it does. I think that, well, first of all, the whole air traffic control system is messed. I mean, I don't want to say they're running on a system that's almost like DOS. I mean, it's so antiquated.
Yeah, it is.
It's ridiculous. Now they do have a congestion problem. It's, if you look at the Philly New York market, I mean, they pretty much run into each other, and the flight paths run into each other. So it's, look, and you look at all the traffic that you have going through the Northeast. It's some of it's traffic. A lot of it is system related. You have a dearth of air traffic controllers, and they've been trying to address that. But I think it's not going to be where you want it to be before the holidays. It'll be where it normally would be during the holidays, but it's not going to be where you'd like it to be. You'd like to go to the airport, your plane leaves on time, 95% of the time. You have no delays 95% of the time. That's what you would expect.
Well, I think that some of the greed in the airline industry is, hey, we're not going to take off unless this airplane's full, right? And I wish some of the regulation would deal with some of the stuff like that. Like, hey, you guys are making ridiculous money because guess what? The price of airline tickets is through the roof. It's absurd. Um, but I can't fix all the problems. We could just highlight the tomfoolery that happens, and hope that somebody important listens and goes, yeah, that makes sense. Um, so
The biggest problem right now when you look at the shutdown and the effect of the shutdown is, the midterms are a long way away.
yep,
I mean, people have a really short memory,
yes.
and it's going to be now. What do people believe in typically? People believe in, and people, unfortunately, most people have the mind of a gnat.
Oh, it's the memory of a goldfish.
Yep, yep. What they've just heard on TV without taking it to the next level of thought. Even the things that are the most ridiculous, people will believe if they think it's coming from the source that they believe in.
Right, right. And instead of doing some independent research and figuring out what they believe in to be true or not true, they just take what comes across TV, whether it's Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or whomever, whatever that is, as gospel truth. And instead of going to, okay, I'm going to listen to, we'll say Fox News, and then I'm going to go read what MSNBC says, and drawing at least a qualified opinion, getting a spin from either side, saying, "Oh, fucking Fox says this. I believe what Fox says." Or CNN said this. I believe what CNN says. And they've never lied to me before. When throughout the entirety of your life, the only thing either one of those news outlets has ever done is lied to your face for their own political for their own political gain.
I watch Fox more than I watch anything else, and I could see through when they're telling me something that should be questioned.
I watched Hannity
And
last night, and he just rambled on about how great all of this was, and I was like,
I can't
"Dude,
even watch him anymore.
dude,
Can't even watch him
you're an
anymore.
idiot."
Yeah,
I
can't even
switched
watch
to
him anymore.
CNN,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, you guys are just as bad. Never mind. I'm just going to turn the TV off and go to bed." So I find myself kind of stuck in between. Like I know what my beliefs are, and that those are my beliefs, not to be pushed onto everybody else. Um, but I'm finding that like the polit. So I forget. Was it? Was it Truman that said that politics was supposed to stop at the water's edge, or was it FDR? Fact check me on the quote, but politics have ingratiated everything that we do in life now, and that's not what the founding fathers believed. I have a whole fucking bookshelf of books about the founding fathers, and they believed that politics was supposed to stop at the water's edge, and that it wasn't supposed to be the thing that you lived and breathed with. And here we are, just knee deep into it with everything that we do, and it just becomes like you either become hypersensitized where everything hurts your feelings, or you become desensitized where nothing fucking matters. And some days I'm hypersensitive, and some days I'm like, fucking stop.
Well, it's almost like theater anymore. I mean, I love to watch professional hearings. I mean, that's my version. My wife loves to call them back. I watch professional hearings, the theatrics of it, and I just shake my head. I'm like, I can't believe these people get with a straight face. One of the guys I used to work with used to say DC's like Hollywood for ugly people.
It's,
But
not, it's fucking not unfair.
oh my God, it's just just trying to solve problems. I've actually heard one good solution to the healthcare problem.
Just to give the money to the people and let them pick their own healthcare.
Give it to people to put into an HCA.
Yep, I've heard that, or a FSA, whichever way they want to go with it,
Yep,
and let them procure their own healthcare, because when government gets involved in things, it just drives the price up.
exactly.
Right? It was the conversation we were having over dinner earlier. Um, Student loans drove up the price of secondary education because, well, the government was going to let somebody pay $100,000 a year to get a degree. So guess what? All of a sudden, that $100,000 a year is exactly what it was going to cost for you to go to a semester at Who Gives a Shit Institute, because that's what they could get from the government. So that's where regulation is problematic, and I think that the more people that open their eyes up to how government may not have your worst interest at heart, but how big corporate America has their best interest at heart. The more people kind of realize that, I think the more the American consumer will open up and be like, hey, maybe I don't need to rely on government. I need to rely a little bit more on myself. But that's just Ronnie's opinion.
Yep, yep.
All right, Joey, guess what? We've been going for about 35 minutes. That was a pretty quick 35 minutes, wasn't it?
Oh my God, just like a regular day in the bar. I
Right?
forgot.
And it was done in front of a camera, and we had a good time. I will tell you that I'm probably going to put this out probably Saturday or Sunday. Um, and I would like to hear from you guys that do watch it to see if there's anything that you like that was good, bad, or indifferent. I hope we stayed away from our political beliefs, because I'm not trying to push anybody away about what we believe. But at the same time, I think it's important to talk about the big news that's going on in the world right
I'm going to be the first one to tell you we have friends on both sides of the table.
now.
And you know what? Never comes into our relationships. We love each other the same way. I always talk about how most people agree on 80% of what they really need to agree on. Everybody wants to live a certain way. They want to live the way they want to live. They want to be able to afford things. They want to be able to have safety for themselves and their family. And
Hmm.
that's that's what most people want. The majority what most people want.
Yep. And the other 20% is bullshit, and that's what they're trying to use to divide people.
Exactly.
So I thank you for coming,
Thank you, my friend.
and
Love you,
we
buddy.
will do this again for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, you guys have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.